My friends and I used to wander into the dark woods at night, wielding little more than our flashlights and an overactive imaginations. It was the surge of adrenaline we needed, gaining from harmless, non existent horror. Lucky for us, there was a forest bordering our neighborhood. It was full of ancient trees that creaked in the wind. Our parents had often warned us about entering the woods, claiming that the trees would fall due to the weakest gust of wind. Of course, their warnings fell on deaf ears. We were young and felt invincible. Though we pretended to be brave, we usually didn't get far into the darkness of the woods before cowering in fear. Each time we'd mark how far we've gone before giving up. And each time we set out for a new adventure, we promised each other to break the record. Our last journey occurred on the 29th of October, 2012. Liam and Frank were my best friends. Together, we ventured deeper into the woods than we'd ever had before. Liam, being a year older, always pretended to have all the experience in the world. He'd hide in the bushes a few yards ahead and jumped out in a pathetic attempt to scare us. Before long, we reached the furthest point we'd previously reached. 9th of April, 2012 it read. We kept walking, proud that we reached our new milestone. Shortly after, we noticed something in the darkness, contrasting starkly to the trees around it. "Hey, what's that?" Liam asked. "I don't know. Let's check it out," I basically yelled in response. As we got closer, we realized it was an old bunker. While it was a cool discovery, it wasn't that uncommon in our country. There were still thousands of concrete bunkers remaining after the World War II. Still, we were excited to explore our new findings. Inside, it was rid of any equipment. All it contained was a hole in the middle, with a spiral staircase stretching deep into the ground. "Let's go climb down," Liam suggested. I don't know," Frank stuttered. "It doesn't seem like a good idea. The stairs might break and trap us inside." "You're just scared. Admit it," Liam teased back. Not willing to admit our nervousness, Frank and I agreed to follow him down the stairs. The stairs themselves were made of metal. Though they felt solid enough, they produced a loud echoing sound with each step down towards the bottom. After a minute without the end in sight, I started to get scared. "How deep down does this go?" I asked. In response, Liam took Frank's flashlight and dropped it down in the middle of the staircase. It fell deep into the darkness. "Holy crap, I can't even see it anymore." "We need to go back. It's too far down," Frank said nervously. "No way. We need to see where it leads." A short argument ensues. After some pushing, Frank gave in, and we kept going down. It took us more than 10 minutes just to descend the staircase. As we got further down, it progressively kept getting warmer and more humid. I could feel the sweat form on my face as we reached the bottom. Once down, we found a large room. It contained little more than a locked door, mold-covered floors, and a broken flashlight Leon had dropped. "It's locked. I guess we should go back," I weakly insisted. But Leon had already set out on search to open the door. Before long, he found the metal panel on the wall. He pried it open to pull the lever. "I'm going to pull it," he said without consulting us. It produced a loud clunk, and the locked door slid open. Liam and I entered first, while Frank trailed behind us. Without a flashlight, we had no choice but to follow closely. Inside, we found a narrow hallway filled with open prison cells. Each door to each cell was marked with a date. 7th of July, 1954, 9th of August, 1954, 13th of September, 1954. The first few rooms didn't seem to contain anything other than dust, but once we got to the end, we noticed something lying in the corner. There, on the floor, lay 3 completely emaciated people. They looked like skeletons covered in a thin layer of pale skin. According to the dates on the cells, they had been here for more than 50 years, yet they haven't rotted. Are they dead?" I asked. As I uttered those words, one of them twitched to life. We jumped at the sight and prepared to run. Only then did we realize that some of these creatures had been attached to the ceiling. They dropped down in front of us and blocked the way. Their limbs were all deformed, too long to fur their small bodies. Still, they moved abnormally fast, almost twitching as they took their steps closer to us. Their eyes had been sewed shut, and they had far too many ribs. They weren't human. "Run!" Frank yelled. We tried to move towards the exit, ducking under their long arms and sputtering for the door. Frank and I made it easily enough, but Liam got stuck behind one of the creatures. "Don't leave me!" he yelled as he tried to maneuver past the sickly thin monsters. With that, it reached out with his thin arm and pierced Liam's abdomen. Unable to speak, he simply fell limp where he stood, only held up by the creature that had killed him. Knowing we could do nothing to save him, Frank and I managed to run for it. Our footsteps were dampened by the fungus and mold covering the floor. The things didn't even notice us until we reached the metal staircase. There our steps rang loud through the metal, alerting the creatures to our location without looking behind us. We are up the stairs, only listening as they got closer. I was only a few steps behind Frank, but that was all it took for him to get up. I didn't even notice he was gone until I got halfway up the stairs. Then a scream of agony echoed through the room. It was Frank, and I thought I wasn't for sure how far he'd gotten. I knew I couldn't help him. I just kept running, up the stairs and into the woods. I didn't stop to breathe before I finally reached the comfort of the streetlights surrounding my neighborhood. Exhausted from the escape, I collapsed on my own doorstep and passed out, safe but broken. Once I regained consciousness, I told my parents everything. At first, they didn't believe me, but once the news of the two missing children spread around town, the police were alerted. Still, they couldn't confirm my story. They initiated a search and a rescue operation. Though they found the bunker I mentioned, there were no trace of any malformed creatures, nor any proof that my two best friends died there. To this day, the case remains unsolved. However, since we opened the cages in the bunker, there have been a lot of reported cases of missing children. Unsolved mysteries. Only I know the truth. I'm sorry. We never should have opened the bunker. Written by Richard Saxon.